Our next guest has a net worth of more than $4 billion, and he says he owes his success to providing credit to the less fortunate. So what does he think about Washington's efforts to smack down credit card companies here on behalf of the poor? Ricardo Salinas is president and CEO of Grupo Salinas and Grupo Electra. My power lunch partner in capitalism, Michelle CABRERA, is here as well. Michelle, you lured him into this appearing on the show. Why don't you take this?
All right, I will do that. Mr. Salinas, thanks for joining us. We want to talk about why you're in the United States over the next couple of days here, where you talk about extending credit to the poor. But first, before we get to that, I want to ask you about, I know you have strong opinions about Congress's efforts recently to either put caps on interest rates or yelling at the credit card companies and telling them that they're being usurious. What do you say to all that?
Well, you got to be very careful, you know. I've seen this happen before in my country and other places. It's a very nice populist speech to say we're going to protect the poor from these abusive bankers. And yes, there's some of that. But overall, you got to be very careful, because by trying to do good, these do-gooders eventually really damage the ability of these people to access any kind of credit.
Yeah, doesn't it seems to me that if you put a price control in there, if you get in there a lot, what you end up doing is actually extending less credit to the poor.
Well, see, that's the whole point. When you give a credit, there's a fixed cost, regardless of the amount of the credit that you're giving. And the point is, when you put caps, it's only profitable to make large loans, not the small loans that the bottom of the pyramid wants.
So, and the bottom of the pyramid is how you've made your money. We should remind people, you tried to buy Circuit City here in the United States when it was going into bankruptcy, because you have this huge electronics chain in Mexico, Grupo Electra, which has done very well marketing directly to what we would consider the subprime customer. Nobody wants to lend to the subprime customer here in the United States, but you think that's a mistake, right?
Well, not only to the subprime customer. Nobody wants to lend any money, period. You know, that's the problem right now. People are very scared about deploying their capital, and there's a huge correction of credit, taking back of credit. And that's very bad news for the economy and for the consumers.
But why would it be profitable to extend credit to the poor? How come you've been successful, and what are you telling people here in these speeches that you're making?
Well, the thing is, the bottom of the pyramid needs a different kind of credit. It has to be, of course, a smaller capital amount, and it needs to be paid back in a much more prompt manner, like, let's say, a weekly payment instead of a monthly payment. That allows people to service their debts. And they should be entitled to access the credit market. They should not be left out. That's what interest rate caps do. They push them out.
You come under some criticism in Mexico, don't you? Because if you take the amount of money you charge to loan someone a very short-term loan and were to put it into an annual rate, it ends up being skyrocketing higher even than credit card companies in the U.S. How do you defend yourself from criticism of that?
Well, you know, you had a president that said it very well. You can't fool all the people all the time. That was said by Abraham Lincoln. So how can you have 8 million customers who you're fooling? It's impossible. I mean, just the law of numbers.
Yeah, now, this idea of the free market, I'm thinking in the U.S., where Washington is concerned about credit for the poor. Couldn't a free market take care of it? Couldn't a bank come and say, hey, do a credit card with us, we'll make sure we never charge you more than 10% interest and make a lot of money doing it?
The whole point is, what we do not need is regulation. What we need is competition. So we need to have more competitors offering this kind of product to the bottom of the pyramid, and that will drive down interest rates down to where they have to be. But it's not by decree. I mean, everybody's happy the day they take the loan, and they're not happy anymore than when they have to pay the interest or the capital. You know? That's just human nature.
Yeah.
And nobody's happy with the interest rate they're paying.
And you also cannot be happy with U.S. efforts. They're also talking about the idea of, I owe the bank a mortgage for my home, and they want a bankruptcy judge to be able to actually say, you know what, bank, you're only going to get 30% less than what the homeowner owes you. And they'll just do this loan mod and actually summarily change the contract. I'm thinking that someone like you who loans money doesn't think that's a good idea.
Well, you know, we're very careful that when we make a loan to somebody, the terms are completely set. We don't increase the rates. We don't decrease the term of the loan. It's a fixed weekly payment, and that's it. And we take all the risk behind it. So I think that's also a way to do business that's more sensible, as opposed to adjusting rates up and down or to taking back the credit line when people can't pay. I think that's not right. But that's just the way to do it. You know?
Yes, sir. If you're so good at this, serving the bottom of the pyramid, what's stopping you from coming into the U.S., setting up a new bank, and starting to serve the poor here?
Well, I'm looking around. I tell you, before this, America was the land of credit and easy money, so they didn't need our services at all. But the way things are today, there's almost 40% of American households are making less than $25,000 a year. So there's lots of people out there who need access to the financial system, and they're not going to get it.
And that's a market that you understand very, very well.
You could buy a credit card company bank that's gone into, is wobbling, and the FDIC has stepped in to take it over. You could get it pretty cheap and set up shop here. If you're going to do it here, just tell us first.
Giving you investing ideas, Ricardo.
Well, that's a thought. But we'd rather start greenfield, with our systems, our controls, and so forth. But yes, we're shopping around. We're looking at opportunities all the time. And let me tell you, this is the first time that I've seen people so scared in this country to give credit. It's really a shame.
How does the world economy look to you? Do you see, we're talking about green shoots here in the United States. Do you see that at all, or do you think the global recession ends somewhere else in the world first?
Well, I think that the excess of the credit markets was definitely a U.S. phenomenon and maybe a European one. But I don't see that happening in Asia and Latin America. We have pretty good economies and they're doing well. Of course, Mexico specifically depends a lot on the export business to the American market and the tourism industry, which is now heavily damaged by this swine flu scare, which, by the way, is a total
exaggeration, mess, overtold, overdone, etc. Yeah, we all agree with you.
All right. Yeah. Thank you so much, Ricardo Salinas, for being here, and thanks a lot, Michelle Caruso Cabrera.
Good to see you, Ricardo. See you later.
Appreciate it.